Alright, today I want to go over various ways of making a slab. Now, slab work is a lot of what home potters use. It's great for hand building, especially if you don't have a whole lot of tools like a potter's wheel. Potter's wheels, you can make slabs very easily, but potter's wheels are very expensive and hard to come by these days, especially with everybody becoming home potters. But the first way is probably the most formal and more academic way, and it's using a rolling pin. Okay, I would use a rolling pin. These are just paint sticks from Home Depot. They're usually free if you ask for them and tell them it's for academic purposes. Otherwise, they'll say, you got to buy something from the paint section. But this is a rolling pin. It doesn't have the handles anymore, but I would just lean into it, and I want to make sure I'm standing up to get a lot of leverage, downward leverage. If I'm sitting down here, I'm not going to get as much. So I would roll here, and the reason I have the paint sticks is just to make sure I'm not going any lower than a 1/4 inch. These are exactly a 1/4 inch thick. But most slabs that I make, I want it to be about a 1/4 inch. But I would roll, and you'll notice it only gets longer. So if I wanted it to be like a round structure, I would have to turn this way, 90 degrees, and then I would continue rolling. Alternative to a rolling pin, a dowel. Okay, this is just literally a long post at Home Depot. They're pretty cheap, and I think they come in 6 or 9 feet. But it's a dowel for a closet. It's just to hold hangers on it. It's a really thick one. I think this one's 2 inches, but you could use this for rolling. That works really well. Anything that's cylindrical, but this one's plastic. This is just a PVC pipe, or I forget what type it is, but like PVC pipe, it's a plastic pipe. Sewer line, and I would put some paper towel around this to be able to roll this. Otherwise, this will stick a little bit and it leaves some sharp lines. So paper towel around that or newspaper would work really well. The other alternatives is to use a piece of wood. I could just push down, try to push as evenly as possible. Now, does this one take longer? Yes, it does, but it'll give you a nice flat piece in the end, and then you just smooth those out. You could use a board that's a little bigger. Use body weight. So right now I'm just kind of shifting my weight around. Okay? And last but not least, 0 tools whatsoever other than a surface, which could be cement, a piece of wood, a table, anything. I'll be honest, this is how I make most of my slabs. I learned from one of my favorite professors. I didn't actually have him as a professor, but he was a professor at Scripps College over in Claremont. And he didn't believe in slab rollers, rolling pins, any of that, because there are machines that help you do this, but he would slap everything out. And so instead of just slapping it straight down, I'm going to slap sideways here. And I want to catch an edge and then just whoosh, finish out my stride. So I'm going to take it and slap, and I'm going to keep going, and you'll notice that I flip it each time. So I flip, so that it takes out my finger marks later, and it's just stretching the way that I'm slapping. So I'm slapping this way, it's growing that way. So now if I want it to be more round, if I wanted it long, I would keep doing this. But if I want it to be longer this way, I need to turn it that way. So then I would, again, it's not just, that'll work, but it's going to be very, very slow. And this way of rolling out a slab tends to be very even through all of this area, and the edges get a little thinner. But that's okay, because most of the time I'm using some sort of stencil or something where I'm cutting out or cutting off the extra edges. So I'll keep going with that. And you want to get your slabs usually around a 1/4 inch for functional wear. If it's something more sculptural, maybe 1/2 inch. So you can see it's pretty even all the way around. This side is a little thicker because that's the one side I just started on. So it's getting bigger and bigger. See, it's growing this way now because that's the way I keep slapping it. So I want it to grow this way. So I'm going to start here instead of here. So instead of lifting and slapping again this way, I'm going to lift here, turn it that way, and slap it out. So again, if you're hearing a loud bang, that means it's probably not stretching anymore, So I'll get a fresh piece here. So if I'm just going, it's not going to stretch very quickly, and you can see it sticks, especially if you slap it down like that. But I want to go sideways. Okay, and with a thick piece like this, it takes a little while. I'd say, I don't know, 15 to 20 slaps of the clay. See, that one was a little flat. Wasn't the best technique. There we go. Okay, so for any slab, whether you're making a slab mug, the bottom to a coil pot, the floor of a piece, you could be making a slab box, any number of things. Another way of making a bottom would be to roll out a coil. So I'm rolling out a nice coil, and again, when I roll coils, I want to keep my hand level to the table. I don't want to go up and down in a U shape. And this is a pretty long coil. You may want to do a little bit more manageable coil sometimes. If this thing's flopping around on you, it just means, maybe you should start with a more manageable length or width. Okay, another way to make a bottom would be just to wrap this up into like a cinnamon roll. Okay, and this would be for, say, something like a mug or a coil pot or something like that. It'd be really good for a coil pot. Now this bottom would be too thick. It's going to be incredibly heavy. So I would take something and flatten it out. That could be my hand. Little CPR style. That could be a board that would work and get you really flat, nice and even. Just using body weight on top, nice and even. That even did some of the blending for me. Then I would blend this all in and nobody would know that I made this out of a coil other than the bottom. If you're having troubles with the clay sticking, you can always use a canvas underneath. Wood works really well. This is a medium density overlay, which it does stick to, but it's nice. Especially the more you leave it there, you'll see that little ring of moisture. That's where it's gonna stick. If I stuck it over here somewhere dry, it's not likely to stick. If it sticks, which this one I could probably get off with my hands, but just take something underneath it, like a credit card, a smooth rib, just a little bit. Once you get it started, it should pull right off. Okay, so you'll see, well, one side's fairly blended, still needs some time and work. That side's not blended, so I would blend that. If I wanted a really nice straight stencil or something really round, I could use something like a cup, use my needle tool to trace around it, or if I wanted a different shape, I could cut it out in a piece of paper, like a square, a star. And these are just off the top of my head. They could be more organic, like a cloud shape, any number of things, okay? So that's it for slabs and bottoms.